All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Film Gear Spotlight. And today, in our spotlight, once more, we have
Partner.
Nikola.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, guys, again. Super excited to be here. Talk some shop a little bit
Yeah.
for a
So
change. Yeah,
what's
yeah.
been going on with you, like with
Um,
everything that's been happening?
Nothing much since last time we spoke. It was, what was
Like,
it, like 2, 3 weeks ago?
yeah,
Expecting this
things
second
were
lockdown.
opening up when we were last
Yeah, yeah,
talking.
yeah.
Now,
And I was a Debbie Downer. I was like super pessimistic. I was like, oh, like things are closing up in my home country. Things gonna close up here again, and so I was expecting it for a while now,
Mhm.
and that things will like close up again, knowing from what I know from what happened in Europe previously. And sure enough,
Yeah,
I
just
hate to be wrong on that one, but
just like 2 days ago, the
yeah,
announcement came out.
yeah. So I even though I was expecting it, like when you actually when it's official, when it hits you, you're like, man, and like I've been on like house duties for the last 5 months since March, so you know what I mean. That's gonna continue, but it's good, not to complain or anything. I really hope we kind of get it together and kind of beat this thing out
Yeah.
and continue with our lives as soon as possible.
What have what have you been up to stay busy involving like film and
Well,
whatnot lately?
mostly with our team of people, like we've been discussing like what our next move is gonna be
Mm-hmm.
once the pandemic is over. We don't want to be like too like unrealistic with the expectation. We are like super grounded and realistic and know that probably nothing's gonna happen until the end of the year.
That's like
But yeah,
if things are going
if
smoothly.
yeah, but hopefully what we've been trying to do is kind of like set up ourselves and establish when everything is over to maybe like go the extra step, like we want to open our own like studios, like facilities, kind of like a little bit bigger than what we have right now,
Mm-hmm.
and expand. We're probably looking into getting something from like even out of state, because we really think that we are anticipating that kind of like, I don't want to be a bearer of like bad news or something like that, but we are anticipating that. I think that the market's going to go down and those kind of things, so we want to be ready, to make like some moves to put us in position where we can really help ourselves long term to tell the stories that we want to tell
Mm-hmm.
and have the ability to do so. So we really feel that having a full on facility like of studios that have everything under one roof and kind of consolidating all those
Like
like
when you say
expenses.
everything, what do you mean?
Well, development team, production team, and post production team. So like you come in with a script, you walk out with a DVD, and
Or a
it's
flash
all
drive
yeah,
in today's
yeah.
term.
So from our experience, locations have been like a really like costly in Los Angeles, and we always wanted to kind of like get a building or get like our own studios that we can always like repurpose for different projects and kind of use it. And it's also on a more technical side, it's going to give us the control in like lighting and to really make it our own, the way that we want to film, and the way that uh, we want to kind of arrange everything, from like having the development people on board. And like we are lucky enough to be working with like one of the best um, you know development people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
We've been really lucky to work with him, with Ken, and so we want to build upon that, and we have our own production team as well, and we have a post production team as well. But we want to put everything under one roof. So we offer like a services, like let's say, in a practical terms, like you want to have a like a script that you want to produce, and if we like it, we want to have the infrastructure to like finance, film it, like do everything like the pre-production, production, and post, and kind of finish it up without making a phone call and be like, hey, can I do this? Can I do that?
Yeah, yeah. Just have
And
full control of the entire like
hundred
workflow.
hundred percent. And I really think that we are really striving to do that. So I really feel like if everything goes well and we do the right things at the right time, that we're going to have the ability to do so. So
Yeah.
there's definitely a sense of excitement, I would say, just because whenever there is like something like this, when like kind of like everything is shifting, like it's feel like things about to change, and I really think that like the crew is going to shrink, the budget's going to shrink, and we really are at our best when we can like multitask, and we kind of
Like
we
be
can do
extremely
it
agile and
exactly,
adaptable.
and be like with a skeleton crew produce like high quality results, and we can really shine in that kind of environment, and we don't shy away from it. And I really feel that we can be at our best that way. Not to say that like, oh, we want to cut costs by all means or anything. It's just being able to tell those stories that you would not being able to normally tell, because like, oh, the budget is this, or you don't have enough money, or this and that, so
you're talking about going from like the space that you have now to potentially getting a building. What type of space do you have right now?
well, we have a studio, but it's a smaller studio. Like we're still going to be based in Los Angeles. In general, it's just you should always be open, or the way that I like to operate is like always have to be open to new opportunities and kind of see where it's going. We're trying to predict of like what's happening. And I really feel like we live in a time where you can produce content anywhere on the globe, and you can recruit people from anywhere in the world, and you can work with people from anywhere in the world. And I think
thank YouTube and internet.
yeah, absolutely. And this COVID kind of situation really expedited all of that. So now everybody's like super comfortable to go on like Zoom meetings, and everybody knows the protocol. And previously would be like, well, I want to bring somebody from overseas, and people will be like, well, like, is he here? Is it? But now it's like super, on point. Like you can literally recruit anybody from anywhere, to work on your projects, and that's exciting. Like I really feel like things going to change.
Yeah. So, which potential states are you looking at to migrate to, and what were some of the like
requirements
and criteria you had to narrow it down to those states?
I would love to be somewhere like Tennessee, for example, just because it's in the middle of the country almost, and you can get easy, from anywhere.
Music capital of the country too.
100%. And and the culture of the city. I obviously love Texas, and
obviously, I mean, I didn't know.
I love Texas. I don't know. It reminds me of my home country a lot, by the way, like the mentality is and everything. In Texas, I really like Texas, like also Houston, Dallas. Yeah, I mean, going anywhere from California, we get so spoiled here.
Yeah.
I literally own a jacket for like fashion purposes, not that like I need it or anything, like short sleeves and like flip flops, and it was like year long. And I feel that's why, on another note, that's why in California I feel you don't like the time flies so much, even more than anywhere else on the planet, because there is really no seasonal change. So every day is the same. So 10 years have passed, and you're like, how did this happen? You don't really see.
It's also the hustle too.
Totally. And that's why I really feel California, it's going to be, it's really difficult to adapt anywhere else once you leave California. Not that, we're leaving California or anything. We're still going to be based here, our families, like we live here. But, just to see what's out there and see how we can, do that, and on like our budget level.
So are you planning on like splitting the team up, or just having the space out there available for like rentals and bookings?
And like rentals, bookings, and
come out when you need to.
Yep. That's exactly. And we're gonna fly everybody out there. That is like the skeleton team. So we worked with the same people for years now, and we want to continue to work together. We really that's the most difficult thing to find. It's
a family.
No, it's the people that you're on the same page, that you genuinely like, and you want to, like grow together,
Yeah.
and that's the most underestimated thing about the whole thing is everybody's going after like budget, which is like understandable, and like scripts and everything else, and that's all has its own place. But I really feel like nobody talks about setting up a culture, like in corporate, America and corporate companies and those kind of things. Like in corporate setting, you have a like a culture that you set,
Mm-hmm.
for your employees and for your teams and like everything else. But in movies, nobody talks about setting that culture. And even if you have the best crew in the world, if it's rotten from the top down, it's gonna trickle down. So it's like, it's really important for you to set that example of how a work environment should be. And I really think that the people that we have together right now, that it's a perfect balance. We're so like different on so many levels, but with our goals aligned and like the
Yeah.
different strengths that we bring to the table, we are really in a unique position, to show what we can do and hopefully tell stories for the years to come.
So, what type of things are you guys doing to prepare for this transition? Because from the sounds of it, you're planning on making a move sometime this coming year, right?
Yes, or like beginning of the next. So basically do a lot of research in terms of like environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see what's available, like what's out there, like is it a better, like how much would it cost to build it? How much would it cost to maybe buy something existing and then like repurpose it? How much would be like the break even point? Like what is our capacity of how many projects we can produce with a skeleton crew? How we can do it safely? What if something happens that, like COVID related, that we need to shift gears? Like, what will be the revenue stream? What will be the whole business model? You're trying to reinvent like everything. Do you do only narrative works? Do you do distribution online? Do you do your distribution? Do you do, deep in the whole like YouTube space? How do you maybe, marry the two? How do you give somebody an insight? How do you give somebody also the opportunity to be a part of your journey, in terms of like how do we provide value as a company to what we bring to the table, to
Mm-hmm.
potential like investors and to our current investors and everything. So it's literally starting from scratch of like reinventing yourselves. Like this is how we've done business so far, but obviously things is going to change, and we are not expecting this, oh yeah, like we're just going to wait and see approach on like how things is going to be once everything is done and dusted. But
Yeah.
like we are basically trying to see like, okay, like to kind of have like a market analysis and see what we can contribute and how we can position ourselves better, like one these things ends, so all of those things. And that's the exciting part, because I'm in it, as I said last time, I like growing things from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I always try to find joy in the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. So even though we're not filming, for me, the whole research and finding things and seeing like everything, it's as enjoyable as just being on set and filming. And just because I get to do it with the same people, and you know I just enjoy the process, and if nothing comes out of it, for example, you're richer with all that information.
Yeah. Knowledge is
Changes your
power.
100% changes your perspective on things, and it might give you an advantage over some other situation in the future. We're want to play the long game. Not we're not in it just for a few years. Nobody's in it to get rich and like to
Yeah.
be what I mean. So we just want to be in position to tell stories long term. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end goal. And everything else around it that we're trying to build. It's that we don't have all the answers to all the questions or pretend to know the answers to everything, but we know what we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can consult with
It's
people.
really interesting that you're pretty much deciding that it's a good time to make a move to another area, because as we've been seeing the trends,
Yeah.
like a lot of businesses in California are on their way out to another state just because of
100%.
costs. And so there's becoming more opportunities in those
Yeah,
lower cost cities that are still very far along in development.
absolutely.
And so like,
It's a
like I spoke with someone like a few weeks ago, and they're
mhm.
telling me like in their area, like even with COVID, they're doing a lot of corporate videos,
Oh yeah,
and they're still like staying afloat and still doing very well
absolutely.
in another state.
And I know a lot of my friends too, as well. Like they're shifting, for the time being, to more towards like corporate videos, and especially like in the medical field, and
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things, because content still need to get out there.
Yeah.
So as long as you're doing everything safely, then that's okay. But as we all know, just doing business in California, it's at a premium
Oh
always.
yeah.
And it's worth it. Don't get me wrong.
It's the opportunity cost.
Absolutely, like 100%. But I really feel like we are at the stage of our careers, and if I would like to move in United States yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
this is definitely the place that I want to be in. And there is nothing I would have changed. Uh, about anything. But we are in the stage of our careers right now that we don't need to be physically present in some place just to be working together, or like for example, our gaffer and Deep is like like he's in Holland currently. So we had the discussion on the phone, like, and like if we're making a movie tomorrow, I'm not gonna be like, well, my gaffer's not available, he's not here, so let me see who else is available. I'm gonna be like, no, Nick, like I need you, I need you here, so we're gonna fly him out, and like he's gonna be a part of it, like we're not just gonna forget about him just because he's not in close proximity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like from the people that we are in, like that it's our team, that regardless of where we are located and where we are filming, that the crew is gonna stay intact,
Mm-hmm.
and we are confident in like our abilities, and it's a really refreshing and kind of liberating way
Mm-hmm.
of like approaching things. So you don't need to be like, well, I need to be in LA, I need to go on this networking party and hustle and trying to get noticed and get hired or something like this. You can really think like long term.
So then, with like what you've been doing, like how are you finding investors or like money for the
Well,
transition, especially with all the stuff that's going on right now?
people still, even on the investor side, they recognize that, the hunger for content, it's never been greater,
Mm-hmm.
even though our situation is not, but when people are at home, and especially the way that we live our lives in the last few months, like you sit at home and you watch a lot of TV and you
Oh
watch a
yeah,
lot of movies and stuff. So the investors
definitely.
definitely recognize that there is potential. It's just finding the right strategy about how you can distribute your content, how you can reach your audience, because you're not in a, it's not like, oh, 3 TV stations, my movie opens up in the theater on Friday, just put the word out, everybody knows by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, yeah,
There's like the eyeballs are scattered across. So how do you reach your audience on Facebook? How do you reach your audience on YouTube? How do you reach your audience on WeChat? So it's like everybody's like so scattered, and Instagram too. And that's the beauty of it, but it's also a curse to just like to find a way of like how to reach everybody. And we've been talking with the investors that we had like so far, and we haven't like reached out to anybody that it's like new and stuff, so we all know each other for like a few years now, so we have developed that like camaraderie, that that we can bounce ideas off each other without them being, well, that's too risky, like they're like, okay, let's see if we do it this way, what's the outcome's going to be, and then like you go from there. So that's there is really it's fluid, and that's okay.
so it's kind of like building like a friend circle of investors
Yeah,
where
yeah, and
y'all just want to help each other win, and the end
absolutely,
product
absolutely.
will end up winning yourself, right?
Yeah, and I really want to get the kind of like the point across that it's okay for the things to be fluid currently, because a lot of the times, we want instant like gratification, and it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I want it now, I want it fast, I want it good.
I think a lot of us got used to that, and then
Yeah,
now like
absolutely.
we're all expecting things to be back to normal in 2 weeks, and
Right.
now it's months later.
Yeah,
So
so
a big
it's
reminder.
absolutely. And like patience is a virtue that's
Hmm.
not, and it's not from yesterday. So it's like, I'm not trying to be like so philosophical or anything. It's just, it's okay to be fluid. Like it's okay for the things to be fluid. It's okay not to know like what's gonna happen, but it's also, now it's the time to better understand, you know, the other, like from an investor side, like, okay, like what are you guys looking at? Like, what's your end game? Like, what is it to kind of like find each other at the middle? You cannot be like, well, my dream was, to make movies for like movie theaters, and now, movie theaters are
all
closed.
closed.
Nah, I was like, that's it, like, and I, well, I'm gonna, like say something that like I said like the other week as well, is when I first started studying film directing in Bulgaria, it was my directing teacher always said, like, if you don't make movies for movie theaters, you're a failure. So we grew up, or that was kind of like embedded,
Yeah.
when it's like, oh yeah, like
So you're
like
not
if
in
you
film unless it's
100%, if your movie is like straight to DVD, you know what I mean, just like go sit on the other table, but if I were like to be closed-minded, and I still have friends that are, it was like, oh yeah, I want my movie to be seen in movie theaters, and there's nothing wrong with it, but like I kind of like, I was always open-minded, and the way that like everything shifted, like I would have been out of work almost immediately, even now. Like if somebody, I like, you have to be self-aware of like where you are. Excuse me, you cannot be going in a meeting and ask for $100 million, because if they have $100 million, they're gonna give it to David Fincher. If I have $100 million, I would give it to David Fincher. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, that's, you have to know where, like you kind of fit in and stuff, and then, kind of expand from there and build from there, and prove yourself from there and prove your value. And, to me, I went into filmmaking because of storytelling. So I'm a storyteller. Even on a podcast, you tell a story. Even on a DVD, like if you watch your movie on a DVD, like you tell a story, or online. Now everybody watches movies online, and that's okay. And if I were closed minded, and the way that I was like raised, and like, and like my teacher were, like, it wouldn't have got me anywhere, But you always have to be open to that new possibility, and to keep your mind open, and you could keep your eyes open and see where you are, and to be self-aware about things, because that's what we're trying to do right now. We are,
Yeah,
open-minded, and we keep on,
we're adapting.
absolutely, because if you don't adapt, that's it. It's gonna run you over, and you always have to like reinvent
Yeah.
yourself, and those kind of things. I really feel it's super important, and
I mean,
that's
just like
what we're
a
striving
little
to
more
do.
than 5 years ago, DVDs and Blu-ray were still massive.
Right,
Now
right,
we're not even using data storage devices anymore. Everything's in the cloud or
right.
streamed.
I mean,
So
look how easier it is. Just, part of it is, like from, let's say like FilmGear, let's say the Aurora light, right? Like how easier it is to have a versatile light, that can match your balance, like, and can match your like other sources, and can match, that give you like, it's RGB, and can give you like every shade of color that you can ever imagine, that allows us, those tools allows us, for us as filmmakers, to be where we are, and we can be like, oh, we have the ability to do this with a skeleton crew, because previously you wouldn't been able to, because
yeah,
you cannot flick on a button. It's like,
you need an
you
army of
you
people
you need
to
people.
run all
Yeah,
the same equipment.
100%. And it's it would have been difficult if I go in and pitch myself with like, oh yeah, like we can do with the skeleton crew this and that. People will be like get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, well, you don't have enough manpower to, to support whatever you're saying. But now it's getting easier. It's getting more accessible, and that's good. That's revolutionizes, everything, and gives us the opportunity, to do it. I remember, like when I studied directing, we've shot on film. So like, you start from the 60 millimeter, like 35 millimeter, like super 35, and then it's like, you know, you go and, there's still people like, oh yeah, film is better, film is better, film is better. But it's really not about what's better or worse. It's different aesthetic. I agree. For me, I still, when I see film, it's bringing nostalgia and I prefer it. But that doesn't mean that every project I want to produce, I'm going to push to be shot on film because that different extra thing, there is always going to be.
Is it a huge difference? Can't we just put a filter on it and then like?
I mean, you can, but it's a like, listen, it's probably better to shoot like Alexa 65 on a digital, and then you go in and then you do whatever you want, and have the ability to change your mind in post like multiple times, and have like more latitude and more details in the shadows and better highlight roll off and all those things, but I really think that as a medium, there is always going to be new cameras and new technology, but like what's in the actual frame between like how you light it, composition, blocking, acting, and just general storytelling and dialogue, and like how you put everything together, it's what's going to set you apart, even if you're shooting on a VHS. The medium, it's really like doesn't matter. And we really, like, I went in to be a storyteller, not to be a storyteller for film theater, because who am I mean, looking back at it, like, I mean, I'm like 17, 18 years in, like, who am I to tell you how you're going to enjoy your movie? I really think it's super pretentious for me to be, I made this movie, Tony, but you cannot watch it on a DVD. You have to watch it on a movie theater. I think you're like what a jerk, bro. What I mean? It's like, so I really feel like the end customer, it's always right. And if we go to that extent, we need to be, well, Tony, here's my movie. You can watch it on iTunes. You can watch it here. If we maybe show it on Super 35 somewhere in some of the Tarantino's movie theaters and stuff, maybe you can catch it there on a Friday if you want to go out and there's no COVID, But it's you have options, right? You just want to go and sometimes, like, especially like, let's say like a normal American family, right? Sometimes a movie night, it's not a movie night, because you need to get a nanny for the kids, so you need to arrange everything. So when you go drive from the suburbs to the city, then you need to catch a dinner, and then you need to do this, and this thing becomes like 600-700 thing ordeal. You know what I mean? That by the time you get to the movie theater, like, you feel like your margin for error is so small. It's like, man, if I didn't choose the correct movie now, like, what am I gonna watch? It's all gonna be for nothing. And then, sometimes it's maybe better, you put the kids to sleep and then you sit down and, you just put on something to watch and you can watch it right then and there, So,
which is where the streaming companies have really stepped in. Like,
100%.
Even during all this fiasco, movie theaters may be closed, but like, how many movies did you see suddenly come out on Netflix this past week?
Yeah, and that's okay. Like, I'm a huge proponent that, like, I understand, the theater is a business as well, but I really feel that in general we are running a 21st century software on a 19th century machine. So something's got to give it. Like,
I can see that.
So it's either it needs to be reinvented. There is a movie theater in like La Cañada, I believe it's a Regal. And, you can go in and it's kind of, they have these like lazy boy chairs and you can go in and lie down and you can watch a movie like that. And it's like really more like intimate setting, like 30, 40 people. and I really love watching movies there. And that's how I like to be in a movie theater. Maybe if you want to put me in a movie theater, I'll go see a Christopher Nolan movie on IMAX, because I'm looking for that experience, and that's okay. But, maybe the drama that we're about to make, it's not destined to be watched on a 150-foot screen.
Yeah.
Watching it at home with your loved one and in the most intimate setting, maybe that's a better way of doing it, and there is nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And
Every movie has its
absolutely
better way of viewing.
But all those things, I'm saying all of this to say that all those things, like piled up to a point where we've come to this point where we can be like, hey, okay, like let's see what we can contribute. Let's see like what value can we offer, to consumers and everything else, and like to viewers. And it would have been possible if we were like closed-minded. If I was my 17, 18-year-old self and be like, oh yeah, if I don't do movies for movie theaters, I would have been out of work.
Yeah.
So it's a
You'd be missing out on all the billions of dollars from stream networks.
100%. So you have to straighten your priorities and see where you at, and keep that like open mind, and
what's crazy is because like in our industry, technology constantly changes, and that changes like business structures too. Like, is there still Blockbuster around? I think there's like only one Blockbuster left.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then now like even with like cameras leaving film to go digital, lights leaving regular tubes and bulbs to go LED, and just even software has gotten more efficient and easier and more affordable for people.
Absolutely. And it really, moves everything forward. Sometimes it accelerates, even when you're not ready for it. I really feel with this COVID thing, it accelerates a lot of things that might not be ready for, like right now. But I also feel like if we're just wait and see for things to go back to normal, it wouldn't do much, for the industry, for us as individuals or anything. So you always have to be like, okay, like what we can do, what is the like our contribution to it.
Yeah. Like I was just speaking with one of our other ambassadors, and he was just telling me like an average shoot now budget's another 25 to 30% more than it used to be. It could take up to a few days longer than it normally is, just because of like how the crews have to move in and out, and then how talent now, like if they're on site or on the set, then most of the crew can't be there. And then when they're making adjustments, talents have to leave, and then the crew goes in to make the adjustment. And
I mean, that's the new reality that we live in, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we just have to make the most of it. I would say.
So knowing that there's a good chance it's not going to go away anytime soon, are you looking at any potential leads to maybe get back on the horse, but like on a different form factor, or you just kind of let's just focus on that move and figure out everything we got to do?
Yeah, because to me, like let's say, if you like, you don't want to do anything half-assed. So you don't want to just like shift something, because if somebody calls me and like, let's say from the producers that we work with, or the investors, and they're like, hey Nick, like I really need you on this, I need to do this video, regardless of what it is, I'll do it. It's because it's not about what it is, it's about who's asking. So sometimes for the people that like we are like indebted to, not in a bad way, that we have our backs, like if they call in, I'm in, like I'll do it. I'm not going to be actively looking for, oh, let me see like what's out there, or let me see this and that. And I know that that's not possible for everybody. I know that there are, like people that need to put food on the table, and that's important. And if, that time comes and stuff and everything, and that actively, like you're pursuing and stuff and everything else, like you should, like you have to do whatever it's not like necessary for you to survive, you know. But I've always tried to tailor, you know, like my career and like, you know, like my life in general, where like I would have options regardless, you know. So, you know, trying to like work off of that and stuff and those kind of things. And I'm not actively looking, like, let's say, to like shift strategies and stuff. Have we, you know, talked about doing corporate videos, medical videos, those kind of things? Yeah. You know, like will be maybe offer it to our website and stuff and everything, probably, you know, but we are not actively pursuing to be like, let's say we're like, okay, like how do we tell this story? Like, because we have, you know, we have all the equipment, like lenses, those kind of things. We're fortunate enough to, you know, like have it at our disposal all the time, and being partnered with you guys for lighting, that gives us another whole another dimension, you know. And we can see like, okay, how do we do this commercial spot that, you know, that now it's the time to do, and what is the message or the story? Like we have like, let's say, couple of specs that we want to do, you know, that we want to like put it out there from like commercials and like those kind of things. But it's mostly about, you know, like what is it that we want to do that we are passionate about, you know, not so much of like what the market needs right now in order for us to make the most money or take advantage of any opportunity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
You
that
know,
makes a lot of sense.
so but,
Like your main motivation isn't about the money, because it sounds like you're still fairly stable, and so now it's just you have your bigger picture, and so anything that comes along the way that you feel can get you one step closer, you may
yeah,
pursue.
that's
Otherwise, like, meh.
that's really well said. You know, it's
Right?
you're good. But yeah, that's kind of like the 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 thinking behind it, you know, and it might change day to day. So the like
Yeah.
things are super fluid. As I said, like we never, like the conversations that we have right now, they're not set in stone. So my biggest priority is when I do, I directed a feature a couple of years back that it's about to come out and stuff, and you know, like we were gonna do some reshoots and like those kind of things, and you know, like that will probably gonna get me in on the horse a little bit, you know, from like for a few days. But the thing is, what I'm most concerned about, not concerned, but what I'm trying to be mindful of is the safety of other people. So
Yeah.
the everybody that you're gonna bring in, just to make sure they're safe, and you know, everybody, excuse
Like,
me,
what
follows
steps do you
like
think you might
protocols
have
and stuff.
to take? Because like
So
the steps I heard about so far, they're pretty
so
pretty
I
ridiculous.
was yeah, I was thinking, since we're gonna be like with a really limited like a skeleton crew. So with the really, you know, we're gonna be doing reshoots with like a super limited like skeleton crew, and we were thinking of color coding. So let's say,
Like how many people would you say?
I was gonna say around 10.
10 people?
You know, yeah. So you would have a makeup artist. So the makeup artist would be on the same color code as a talent. So makeup artist and talent, you know, um, they can, you know, be by themselves, and you know, whenever they're like in the makeup chair and stuff and everything else, but they don't basically communicate with anybody else, and
Yeah.
we don't mix. And you have camera crew, so you're gonna have a gaffer, a DP, an AC, you know. I don't anticipate, you know, maybe like one grip, you know, and those are gonna be, you know, like your people that are gonna be like behind the cameras, uh, and us as directors, you know, and who else? And a producer and a writer. That's pretty much your crew, you know, when it comes to those kind of things. But us as directors, for example, because we co-directed the feature, us as directors, we're not going to be communicating with anybody else. So we're not going to be mixing in with the camera crew and be like, hey, like, what's up? You know, like those kind of things. Like we just, you know, like it's small enough that you can social distance, but it's also small enough that you can segregate, you know, everybody to a point where nobody has unnecessary contact with anybody else
Yeah.
outside of like for what we are came here to do. And it's shrewd. but it's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna rob the fun element out of a
Yes,
production, but
100%.
I mean, the
But
crews are creative; they'll figure out a way.
yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure there is going to be, everybody's going to be happy to be on set, and I know I'm going to be happy to be on set, and um, we'll see. And once they see the movie, if it's a good final product, everybody's going to forget
Worth
about
it.
the hurdles and stuff and
Yeah.
everything, and it's going to be like super worth it. But I really feel, that we should just be responsible for the safety of other people. It's not so like the way that I like to think. It's not so much about me or like how I'm gonna get over it or if I'm gonna get it. Like if I, let's say, help and spread the disease to somebody that I
Like
love
was
and
a
they get,
cause or
yeah, and
yeah.
that's where it's really gonna get me in my opinion, because I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I'm like really more on the cautious side,
Hmm.
and I'm not like a medical expert or anything, and I don't know what helps, what doesn't. But like
It's just whatever we're told.
I just want to be part of the solution, not the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
But we all know in filmmaking that
Prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
whatever you think it's gonna go wrong, it usually goes wrong
Yeah.
and then some. So it's a slippery slope at the moment, and that's why we are kind of like,
Have you heard anything from like how film insurance wants to handle things and stuff?
not really from the insurance side. I heard that they have a lot of like problems in terms of like getting like things insured and stuff, and it like the rates are skyrocketed like through the roof. But that's, I don't know like what's the implications of it, when it comes to, those kind of things. Like we have our like yearly insurance for like everything else for like equipment. And so I didn't have to deal with insurance recently in the last few
Uh,
months. So I don't know like firsthand, but from what people told me and stuff, it's pretty bad.
dang.
So I don't take my word for it, do your own research when it comes to
I'm hearing from folks that are trying to get on productions right now, and some folks are telling me like either the insurance don't want to insure anything COVID, so if they're not insuring anything relating to COVID, then without the insurance, they
yeah,
can't pull permits, and they
exactly.
can't pull permits, they can't shoot. So it's just
Yeah.
like a vicious cycle right now.
Yeah. And there is really not like one unified. And I feel like the guidelines that were set out to 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 be, and like how they're like set up, they're
Mhm.
really more geared towards like, like
Normal work
Warner Brothers
environments.
and like Universal, and you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like not more towards like independent filmmaking and like what do you do? Because let's say I'm a producer,
Hmm.
I come in and I hire you, you know, and you know something goes wrong and you get infected, something happens, God forbid, and then you know where does my responsibility ends and yours begins and vice versa, and like what's the situation like it's unclear. Outside of the human element, there's going to be a lot of set of logistics. Like are you like civilly responsible, is it criminally, what I mean? So is it like what are you doing in that case? And for me as somebody that hires you as a producer, I need to provide you with the best working environments. And even if I go through all the steps and you still get sick, and like where does the whole things like falls in? So it's a lot of like unanswered things and uncertainty, and I really feel it's giving like like false hope, and it's manufacturing like a false like sense of urgency to get back out there, and like the economy needs to be doing this and that, and that's absolutely true. There's no denying it, but at an expense of a human life, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's so it's a lot of like unknown things. let's say best case scenario, what I expect to happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, let's say we find a vaccine, by, let's say, early next year, mid next year, and we are able to really, freely be open, like, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and everything else. We find a way to, like, I don't want to go into philosophical, but to listen to each other and better understand each other, to streamline everything that we have currently, to work better as a team. And when we go back out there, we go back out there with a little bit more appreciation about the craft of filmmaking. So when somebody asks you on set, hey, can you move this stand? Don't be the guy like, I don't do manual labor, just be like, hey, like, I'm happy to help, like,
Just be nice. It's nice to be back on the field.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to the moment where everybody's just gonna be, happy to be on set again, because I really feel like sometimes that gets lost,
Yeah.
and
But for yourself though, like what's
well,
some like a goal that you have beyond the new established multimedia center that you were mentioning earlier?
I definitely wanna make a feature film in my home country. If I can make that happen next year, after the whole crisis has like died down and we emerge from it, I really feel like that will be, as a director, that will be my next step. I really have a story that I want to tell since about 2007,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about a gambler that loses his kids on poker.
What?
He goes all in and loses it in, and it basically, a story that is really dear to my heart. I have it since I was,
Was it based on a true story?
yes. So I wanna do that,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's a really, like a typical, like, my directing style, like super like fast paced,
Is it like more on like the drama or
It's a it's
action,
a it's a
comedy, dark
it's a
comedy?
thriller drama,
Oh, okay.
but definitely has like thriller elements, and it's like, and it's rooted in a drama, but with like super thriller elements and really fast paced. I
Do you
don't.
already have the script for it?
Oh yeah, I really feel like this is like the right time, and I always said that the first feature that I'm gonna do in my home country will probably be my second or third. I never wanted to do my first feature there. I always wanted to be my first feature to be in English in the United States, and it's gonna be done in like a couple months. I've shot it in 2018, at the end of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So once that's out there, I'm gonna
What's
get
the
that.
name of that feature? You allowed to
It's
plug it?
Click.
Click?
Click. Yeah, it's not like a click, but like a
Like
click.
a home, like a group of friends click?
Like yeah.
Okay.
So
Social circle.
yeah,
Okay.
like the script is ready. It's been like storyboarded. I know every single shot in my head. I know who the actor is gonna be. It's gonna be foreign language film. It's not gonna be. There is only one English speaking role in it. But it's definitely one of my dearest projects that I hold like dear next to my heart. And I never wanted to do it first for some reason. I always wanted to be as a follow-up, because with the first film, people, even if it's good people, maybe he got lucky. It's usually your like follow-up movie that you're really like, okay, like now he like, knows
Yeah.
what he's, when
Yeah,
it comes to
you
those
pick
kind
up
of
all the
things.
experiences and
Absolutely. So that's, if that can happen next year, I would like super appreciate it, because where I'm from, Macedonia, it's a really talented region with a lot of talented people and a super film savvy. It's not being talked a lot because it's only 2 million people country, and it's like Burbank and Glenville combined. You know what I mean? So
that's
it's
tiny.
like it's super tiny, but super film savvy. We grew up on American pop culture. I'm 34, about to be 35. So we grew up in the time when the LA riots were happening, and the NWA, and like the whole East Coast, West Coast things. And, Like we are influenced by American pop culture through our whole life, and you know, I really like feel that there's a lot of people there on the crew side as well, and actors that can contribute a lot, and they're like on the highest level possible, like
Mm-hmm.
A-listers that they're masters of their craft. That I would just be lucky enough to work with, and to kind of tell a story that's just been like dear, and close to my heart for like so many years, and if I can able to make that happen, I would cherish that moment forever.
Maybe you'll inspire another future Nikola.
Oh,
Like you're
I
telling
would
us in
hope
the
so.
last time
Yeah,
where like you stepped on your first real
yeah.
American production over there, and then you're like,
I
what?
would, I would, I would love that. If I always say it, like if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not like, trust me, it's not a rocket science. All you need to do is just take it like one day at a time and do it the best that you can do. Just give it your best, like one day at a time.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
that's all that you can do it. And if you wake up, you want to change something, go ahead and change it. There's no reason to wait. So there's like, if I would like, it would be amazing if there's like more Macedonians that would come in and be, because they're really talented people. They're really like talented directors and talented DPs especially, and like actors, I don't want to even start. I can send you like few movies that has been done so far and everything. Like if they have been done here, that would have been at the highest level possible. It's just the craftsmanship in those projects. It's been impeccable, and I would just hope to follow up nicely,
yeah.
and to kind of have a movie out there that can stand the time and tell a story, and kind of from like a time. But yeah, that's my biggest goal
That's
from
a
like
huge one.
personal,
If you
like
had it,
the directing one.
haven't given up on it. It's been almost
Yeah,
10 years
absolutely.
of this
Yeah,
goal been on your agenda.
that was always at the back of my mind, because the movie that we were going to shoot in March, that we were going to go there, I was a producer on it. So like I would love to produce a movie there and stuff and everything, and kind of set up shop, for like more projects and those kind of things. And it was somebody else's project that is still really dear to my heart, because it's a really awesome project. I really feel like the story and the Macedonia will be like a perfect location for that story, you know. But as a director, like next year would always my goal to, just go ahead and direct that feature. And, I always kind of like put it off, and I was like, yeah, like now it's not the time, now it's not the time. But especially like after like the lockdown, I was like, now it's the time to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a time for
Absolutely.
big
And
changes.
we're still gonna use FilmGear lights. We're just gonna ship them. We are not using anything else. We are using
Only
FilmGear.
FilmGear lights.
And
There's a
from
European,
9K, from 9K up.
There's a few European rental houses that carry FilmGear
That's
stuff
amazing.
exclusively.
That's amazing. But it has to be the 18Ks though. So we have
perfect.
to bring out the big guns.
What's their name? Mozzie met them when he went to Europe to shoot. I forgot. Is it in Istanbul?
Istanbul, yeah.
Is that close by?
It's relatively close. I mean, it's a like.
Is it like LA to Vegas close, or is it like
No,
LA to like
It's-
Texas close?
It's LA to Tennessee by car close. But listen, it's not that far. When you're in Europe like that, it's not that far. Istanbul is a really cool place to visit. I've been in Istanbul like multiple times, and in Turkey on vacation and stuff. But that's amazing that they have FilmGear lights, so we can ship them from there, or we can even drive them with a truck, because we can only drive. It's like a 15-hour drive or so, and especially like to Bulgaria.
And if they already have all the logistics now, we can just ship more to them.
That's
for you
awesome,
guys.
because it's only like the 9Ks, the 18Ks.
That's what Mozzie got to use with them
9K,
for the first time ever, and then he was like,
No, listen.
"This brand exists."
Absolutely, and it's amazing. Like, I urge everybody, don't take my word for it. Come and see it for yourself. Like it's in El Monte. You can reach out to Tony. Like Tony's like super helpful, and like he's gonna guide you through the process. Like come see it for yourself. There is nothing can stop you. Like you're like 30 minutes, from like
And right now you have all the time in the world.
Exactly. I met Frank at FilmGear, and I was at the Film Tools, and I saw that there was like, I believe it was like the 18K or something. It was like super
Like that
bright.
guy.
Yeah, and it was super bright. I was like, oh my god, like what's this? And then I come in and I talked to Frank. I was like, what's this? And I was like, oh, that's our RGB panel. I was like, what? You have like RGB? And then I have the LEDs, and then we exchanged information and stuff. And so I was like, and Frank was like, hey, come check us out. Like give us a chance. And I really love what I saw. I mean, not to keep on like bugging about it, but the build quality, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
The customer service, amazing. And I don't know what else you can ask for when it comes affordability. Don't get me started with that one.
And on top of that, right now we understand that there's the whole pandemic situation, so we do virtual demos. So
That's
if anybody's interested in getting like a virtual demo, they can just drop us a DM, and then we'll do the whole presentation. Give you close-ups to look at things.
No, listen.
We can run meters for them to check the lights.
100%, and it's been super helpful. And like Mozzie is like a rock star when it comes to like guessing.
Yes, yes, he is.
There is no better person to learn from. You know what I mean? If I can provide like 1/10 of the information that Mozzie can, I'll be happy.
I mean, all of our ambassadors seem to have like they're strong in their own backgrounds, and so like if any customers come to us with any kind of questions, we can just hit up one of the ambassadors, and they'll just be like, oh yeah, just try this and do that, and then boom, we can get an answer like straight from the professionals' mouths themselves for you, for the customers, versus like them digging for days and hoping that some form that they found got the right answer.
I mean, listen, if you have a company that is like, if somebody tells you, there is this company that manufactures great lights, and it's in LA, so you can go check it out whenever you can. If something you need customer service, they're right there. They're as helpful, and the light is it's amazing quality, and it's affordable. I mean, who would not sign up on it? Or at least if you have a little bit of curiosity to go and check it out.
Yeah.
Not to be like anything else, to just see it for yourself,
And the truth is, like, you can get away with a lot of stuff with all kinds of lights, and our lights hold more than just a candle to our competitors 100%. Out there. So,
yeah. I think that was a perfect segue to end the second episode.